Hey guys, it's Crystal Briefs. In this video, I'm going to review the effectiveness of Helldrider in War of Wonders because I've seen a lot of people using it in a wrong situation. So how does Helldrider work? When you have 7% of the entire troops dead, Helldrider immobilizes one of the enemy's largest squads for 11 seconds out of 40 seconds total, which is huge. Since the effect lasts for 11 seconds, it's merely a better version of Tempestite. But as you can see, the target squad is not troop type specific, so it can hit any of the 3 troop types in War of Wonders. That means Helldrider's effect fluctuates like a roller coaster. So of course, there are a lot of situations in which Helldrider is very powerful, but also completely useless. Furthermore, by nature, the direct effect of the familiar is towards reducing your losses, since it reduces the number of times enemy is attacking your troops. However, this may indirectly cause the enemy to lose more troops, possibly even more than Griffin does. Now, here's how I evaluated Helldrider in 5 popular comp categories: Inf or Cav Dominant 424, 442, 055, and 208 variants. I used the 5-star system, 4 to 5 star being useful in most cases, 3 star being only sometimes useful, and 1 to 2 stars being useless most of the time. The important criterion is how likely the Helldrider targets the enemy troop type that counters your frontline troop type on a theoretical basis. Otherwise, the effect gets theoretically small. I also considered the current trend, as in what comps are popular. Even if Helldrider could be effective against 244, most people don't use 244 comps, which will be eliminated from the evaluation. Another thing is whether Helldrider promotes or demotes the beneficial mechanism or retargeting sequence, which is particularly relevant in ranged on ranged front situation. One last thing is the effectiveness of Helldrider against a predator comp. Against a prey comp, you'd get a leeway of wasting 1 slot but still win. So I think it's more important to consider how Helldrider will fare against a counter, because a lot of the times it cannot be helped that you take a counter hit. One more thing before getting into the actual review, let me briefly talk about the current trend in War of Wonders. Inf or Cav Dominant 424 variants in ranged phalanx has been really popular, and you might see them everywhere. Inf Dominant 442 variants like 974, 992 are really popular as well. As a sniper comp, 208 is probably the most popular right now. And from my perspective, watching WoW videos on YouTube, I feel Cav Dominant 424 variants in ranged and Cav phalanx are getting more popular as more people are aware of retargeting issues. 055 will become much more popular, and I think my videos are partially responsible for that, with my 055 video approaching 2,000 views. Plus, the Cav Dominant 055 variants may become more popular to better avoid the effect of the opponent's Helldrider and Inf phalanx. For the same reason, Range Dominant 442 could become more popular. Alright, let's get into the actual review. So the overall review for Helldrider being used in Inf Dominant 424 variants is a 3-star. It can sometimes be useful. Since it's naturally resistant to any 442 variants, I didn't really count those situations towards the overall rating. You know, you can waste 1 familiar slot and win. Yet Helldrider may still improve the results further, especially when it hits Inf squad. In that case, it drastically promotes the mechanism beneficial to your 424 in ranged phalanx. Now, what we are most interested in is how Helldrider fares against some predator comps. 055 and 208 are obvious predators, meaning they counter 424. For 208, Helldrider does have significant effect by stopping a quarter of the Cav, which is equivalent to 800k worth of Cav attack. If Helldrider is stopping that many troops, the effect is bound to be significant, confirmed in preliminary tests, although less effective than Jade Worm. Against 055, Helldrider is expected to stop one of the ranged squads, which slows down the 055's penetration process, so it's very effective unless 055 adapts to it. So if there became more comps like 046, Helldrider will lose some stars against 055. Now, against Inf Dominant 424, which is the same comp as what you are going for, Helldrider may actually play against you by affecting the retargeting sequence. In ranged phalanx versus ranged phalanx situation, you want your ranged killed first, and your own Helldrider might prevent that, so it's a 3-star. Against Cav Dominant 424, it's a natural predator, plus the Helldrider will most likely hit enemy Cav, so it won't increase the chance of winning, and that's one of the main reasons I rated 3 stars overall. Next, we are going to be looking at Helldrider in Cav Dominant 424 variants. Here, I've rated 4 stars overall. Now, 442 variants become predator comps in this case because of your lower inf count, but Helldrider still works really well for the same reason as the previous comp. Also, I improved the rating for Helldrider when used against range dominant 442 because stopping the 442's ranged by the talent may delay damage input on your 424's cav, and against inf dominant 424, the chance of Helldrider backfiring will tend to be smaller because your inf would be low and won't kill the enemy ranged too fast. Let's move on to the effect of Helldrider in 442 variants, which need to use ranged phalanx most of the time. Any inf dominant comp is a natural predator for this, and Helldrider likely hits the inf, so I rated 5-star overall. Against Cav dominant 424, Helldrider hitting Cav will be pointless, but 442 variant is expected to win regardless, so this 1-star doesn't count towards the overall rating. And of course, Helldrider can repel the sniper comps like 208 and 055 that would have potentially got through. Next is using Helldrider in 208. I rated 2 stars, so it's basically useless. Now, the purpose of the sniper comp is usually not just to win, but also to win with a lot of casualty difference. How Helldrider does against prey comps like 424 is more important here. Helldrider only kind of works against any ranged dominant comps because it immobilizes the ranged that attacks 208's cav, but 208 would still most likely lose in such a situation. Although Helldrider can be really effective against the same 208 comp, because the target of Helldrider will be 800k cav, there's a problem with what to swap for Helldrider. Jade Worm and Cav Shield in 208 tend to be too effective to be swapped out, so Helldrider would be a 2-star. The last comp I'm discussing is 055 with Helldrider. I rated this 1-star. Basically, in any situation, hopefully 055 is not hitting a ranged dominant comp, so Helldrider has almost 0 chance of hitting enemy ranged. Also, Helldrider cannot speed up the penetration process at all. The best thing Helldrider can do for 055 is reduce the damage 055's cav take. Like if 055 hits ranged dominant 442 in inf phalanx, that might have a huge effect theoretically. But first of all, just don't hit ranged dominant 442. So in summary, Helldrider can be a regular member used in 442 variants and Cav dominant 424 variants like 749. For inf dominant 424 like 947, Helldrider sometimes works great but not in other times, so it's more advisable to be flexible with the use of Helldrider. But of course, if you and your guild is strong enough to be able to waste 1 slot, regular use of Helldrider is totally fine. For 208 and 055, Helldrider would be useless most of the time, at least compared to other familiar choices like Shield Familiar and Jade Worm. Before finishing the video, let me address the limitations of the evaluation I did in this video. It's not fully objective. There are some significantly subjective elements involved in the process, like determining the trend is quite subjective. In fact, I tried to run comparisons on every possible enemy comp and formation and do statistical analyses to objectively rate Helldrider in every situation, but it was too much data and the video would have become too technical, and I still don't have the ability to present such complicated stuff to you in an understandable manner. Also, this evaluation did not consider a lot of variations outside comps like tier 5 count, familiar lineup, hero comp differences. However, that doesn't mean my evaluations are screwed. They still apply to the majority of real situations because you can predict which troop type Helldrider would be hitting with reasonable accuracy before you actually engage in a battle. Furthermore, I only evaluated 5 major comp groups with Helldrider, which might be too broad. When we say Inf Dominant 424, it includes a broad spectrum of comps like 956, 857, 947, 1046, and each of those react differently to different comps. So my evaluations arguably contains substantial overgeneralization. So there will definitely be situations in which the evaluations in this video don't apply. Usually I mention limitations of tests here and there, but I wanted to make it clear that all the tests I do always come with limitations like this. Sorry to have kept you this long. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and see you later.